Namaste, beautiful souls. Welcome to the sacred journey of Call Mantra, Embrace Divine Grace. Let the celestial vibrations uplift your spirit and guide you toward inner peace, abundance, and divine blessings. Open your heart, chant with devotion, and awaken the infinite grace within you.
Okay, so I want to start with a little thought experiment.
Oh, I like that.
For everyone listening, I want you to just, take a second. If I say the word Tantra, what's the very first image that just, pops into your head? And be honest with yourself. Don't filter it. What is it?
I think I can guess exactly what most people are picturing.
Right. I bet for a lot of you, it's something kind of dark. Maybe cremation grounds at midnight, you're seeing skulls, maybe some kind of black magic ritual.
Ominous chanting, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Or, and this is the complete flip side, you're thinking about something scandalous.
Right, the other extreme.
Yeah, totally outrageous behavior, maybe purely sexual indulgence, some commune from the 70s with a lot of velvet and maybe not enough boundaries.
It's always one of those two, isn't it? Spooky or scandalous.
It is, and that's the common cultural baggage that comes with that word.
Absolutely. It's really fascinating how a word can get so loaded with misconceptions that its actual meaning gets completely buried.
Hijacked.
Yes, completely hijacked by its most extreme and, honestly, its most marketable associations.
Exactly. And that is precisely why today's deep dive is going to be a bit of a mind bender.
I think so too.
Because we are looking at a stack of research centered on the Mahavidyas, the 10 wisdom goddesses, and specifically how they relate to a spiritual window that's opening up on January 18th, 2026, which is called Gupt Navratri.
And here's the kicker, as you say.
Here is the kicker. The source material we have just completely shreds those stereotypes we just talked about.
It doesn't just debunk them, it reframes the entire concept of Tantra.
How so?
Well, instead of all that weird stuff done in the shadows for, petty gains or magic tricks, the source defines it as a divine path of self-transformation. A path. It's not about magic, it's about psychology, it's about evolution, and really it's about cleaning up the mess inside our own heads. It's actually remarkably grounded.
That's the part that really hooked me. The idea that these 10 goddesses aren't just, mythological figures you pray to for a new car or a promotion.
Right, not a divine vending machine.
No. They're described as a roadmap for the evolution of the human soul.
Yes, a sequential, logical roadmap.
It's surprisingly practical. I mean, it's almost like a user manual for the human psyche, just, written in the language of symbols and archetypes.
And that's our mission for this deep dive, isn't it? To unpack that roadmap.
It is.
Because the source makes a very bold claim right at the beginning. It says that books, lectures, just intellectualizing your problems.
Yeah.
It can't fix the deep-seated issues in your life.
You need something else.
You need a different kind of force.
So, okay, let's start there. Let's redefine the word itself, because our source breaks down the etymology of Tantra in a way I had genuinely never heard before.
It's not what most people think.
No, it's not magic book or anything like that. It's actually quite technical.
It's much more precise, almost mechanical, you could say. The source explains that Tantra comes from two root sounds.
Okay.
Tan, which means expansion.
Expansion, got it.
And tra, which means an apparatus, a mode, or a tool.
A tool. So expansion and tool. That sounds a lot more like engineering than religion.
Right. And if you put them together, Tantra is simply a technology. It's a tool or an apparatus used to expand your consciousness.
So it's a method.
It's a method. The source calls it a force that's required for transformation. It's not the goal in itself. It's the vehicle you use to get to the goal.
I like that.
Think of like a telescope. A telescope isn't the stars, right?
No, of course not.
It's the tool that allows your vision to expand enough to see the stars. Tantra is the telescope for your inner world.
Which makes total sense why they call it a path. But here's where it gets really interesting for me, and I think this is going to resonate with everyone listening.
Okay.
The source spends a lot of time explaining why we even need this tool.
Right.
It talks about the failure of intellectual knowledge.
The knowledge-action gap.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, how many self-help books have we all read?
Oh, probably too many to count.
Yeah.
The shelves are groaning under the weight of them.
They are. And you read the book, you get it, you understand the concept, you highlight the important passages.
You agree with it completely?
You completely agree with it. And then nothing actually changes.
Yep.
You're still the same person with the same anxieties, the same triggers, the same bad habits. So why is that? Why doesn't knowing better automatically translate to doing better?
The source gets very, very specific about this. It points to something called the chitta kifritis.
Okay, that's a mouthful. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah.
Chitta kifritis.
Sure. So chitta is the mind stuff. Think of it like the memory bank, the entire subconscious field of your mind.
Okay, the hard drive.
The hard drive, exactly.
Yeah.
And vridis are the fluctuations, the whirlpools, the tendencies within that field.
The patterns.
The deep, stubborn patterns in our consciousness. So the source argues that knowing what to do is intellectual, it's on the surface. But these patterns, these vridis, they're visceral. They are incredibly strong.
They run the show.
They absolutely run the show from the subconscious. It's that classic analogy of the rider and the elephant. The rider is your intellect and says, okay, elephant, we're going left.
Right.
But the elephant, which is your deep-seated patterns, your vridis,
Yeah.
it wants to go right to eat peanuts.
And the elephant usually wins.
The elephant almost always wins.
That is such a relatable image. It reminds me of that feeling where you think, okay, I've got this. I'm over that issue. I'm a calm person now. I've read all the books on Stoicism.
Mm-hmm. You feel like you've made progress.
You do. And then one very specific thing happens, a trigger, and boom, you're yelling or you're anxious or you're doing that thing you promised you'd never do again, just like you were 5 years ago.
Precisely. And the source has a name for that. It calls it the illusion of progress.
The illusion of progress.
Ugh.
Wow.
You think you've crossed a limitation, but the moment that trigger hits, it proves, and this is a quote, that you are of the age again.
Of the age again. Meaning you haven't actually changed at all.
You haven't moved. And the reason, according to the source, is something called samskaras.
Samskaras. Now those are like impressions, right? Mental grooves?
Yes, exactly. They're impressions formed in the mental body, what's called the Maya kosha.
Okay.
Think of them like deep grooves recorded onto a vinyl record. Every single time you react in anger or in fear or with jealousy, the needle digs the groove just a little bit deeper.
That's a fantastic visual. So every time I lose my temper with traffic, I'm just etching that reaction deeper into the plastic of my mind.
You're reinforcing the pattern.
Yeah.
And the source is very clear on this. These habits didn't just form overnight.
No.
They're the result of lifetimes, or at the very least, a whole lifetime of repetition.
So the logical conclusion is
They won't vanish overnight just because you read a clever quote on Instagram or understood a concept intellectually. The groove is still there. The needle naturally falls right into it because it's the path of least resistance.
that is a tough pill to swallow. It really is. We all want the quick fix, the magic pill. But okay, so if the book doesn't work and the lecture doesn't work, what does? How do we actually repress the vinyl?
The solution that's proposed is sadhana,
Sadhana, which translates to
discipline. But it's more than just that. It's consistent, disciplined effort. It's the daily work, the daily practice required to slowly, patiently scrub those grooves out of the record.
So it's about consistency.
The source is very clear. This isn't magic. It requires patience. It is the consistent effort needed to break the conditioning that simple reading just cannot touch. It's the friction required to smooth out the record.
So if Tantra is the tool, maybe the sandpaper in this analogy, then sadhana is the actual labor, the act of sanding day in and day out.
Exactly. You've got it. And this brings us perfectly to the core of this deep dive, the roadmap. If we're going to do this work, if we're going to apply this sadhana, where are we actually going? What's the destination? And that is where the Das Mahavidyas, the 10 wisdom goddesses, come in.
And this, for me, was the biggest aha moment in reading through all this material.
Really? Why is that?
Because I always thought of these deities in the traditional way as separate entities. You know, you pray to this one for money, that one for health, that one to pass an exam.
Like a cosmic switchboard?
Yes,
Yeah.
a vending machine of divinity. But the source describes them completely differently. It's a progression, it's a ladder.
Yes, it's a journey of inner transformation. They are all emanations of the one primordial divine mother, the Ajya Shakti, but they represent distinct stages of the soul's evolution.
So it's sequential.
It's absolutely sequential. You move from the rawest, most chaotic energy all the way up to the highest, most sublime wisdom. And you can't just jump to the end. You have to do the work at each stage.
Okay, so let's walk the listener through this journey, because when you lay it out, it seems like a very structured psychological process. So where does the journey begin?
It begins with Maa Kali.
Of course. Probably the most famous one, visually speaking. The garland of skulls, the sword, the tongue out. She looks terrifying.
And because of that imagery, she's often the most misunderstood.
Right.
In this context, Maa Kali represents time and transformation. She is the initiator. She's the starting gun.
The wake-up call.
The ultimate wake-up call. If you want to, really change, you have to step into the stream of time and accept that the old you has to die for a new you to be born. She is that spark. She's the sudden, shocking realization that time is ticking.
It's that moment where you finally look in the mirror and say, I cannot keep living like this.
Exactly. It's that raw moment of urgency. She cuts off the head of the ego. That's what the sword represents. It's not about literal violence. It's about severing the false self that's keeping you stuck.
So she's the catalyst.
She is. But once you wake up, you realize there's a lot of work to do. You've basically just woken up in a very messy room. And that realization moves us to the second stage, Maa Tara.
The source calls her the savior goddess.
Yes, she's associated with sound and with healing. But the psychological insight here is what's truly fascinating.
What's that?
The source says she represents the act of recognizing the unhealed aspects of your life.
Yeah, this part really stood out to me. It said she forces us to look at the things we are in denial about.
Right. And we all have those things, don't we? The trauma we bury deep down, the resentment we pretend we don't feel, the limitations we refuse to address head on.
We just skirt around them.
We do. We pretend they aren't there. Maa Tara is the force that makes you look at those wounds. She represents the vibration, the sound that begins to shake loose all the debris we've been hiding from ourselves.
Okay, so Kali wakes you up with a jolt, and then Tar comes in, points at the mess in the corner, and says, look at that, you can't ignore that anymore.
Essentially, yes. It's the diagnosis stage of the process. You can't heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Tara brings the vibration that makes the hidden things visible.
So once you start dealing with that mess, where do you go?
You move into the second major phase, expansion and confrontation. And this is where we meet Maa Sundari and Maa Bhuvaneshwari.
Now, these two seem a bit gentler, at least in their descriptions. Tripura Sundari represents beauty and balance.
She does. After the chaos of Kali and the difficult diagnosis of Tara, she brings a sense of harmony. It's the promise that there is a beautiful underlying order to the mess you've just uncovered. It's a moment of respite.
A necessary one, I imagine.
Very. But then comes Maa Bhuvaneshwari, who's described as the expansion of space.
Continuity and containment. What does that mean in a psychological sense? I mean, expansion of space.
Think of it this way. If you've just stirred up all this trauma and pain with Tara, and you're trying to find some balance with Tripura Sundari, you need a container that's big enough to hold all of it without breaking.
Okay, that makes sense.
If your sense of self is small and constricted, that trauma will just overwhelm you. Bhuvaneshwari provides the psychological space for the soul to stretch out. You stop being so constricted by your small personal ego. You expand your awareness to include the good, the bad, and the ugly. You become a bigger vessel.
Okay, so we've woken up, we've looked at the wounds, we've created some space to hold it all. We're doing good. We feel like we're finally making some progress.
We are. And this is usually where a lot of people want to stop. They feel a bit better, a bit more expanded, less reactive.
It feels like a win.
It is a win. But the roadmap says, no, you're not done yet. The deep cleaning hasn't even happened. Because now the intensity really ramps up. We meet Maa Bhairavi.
Fierce transformation. That sounds intense.
It is. It's the heat of the fire. It's friction. You've acknowledged the wounds, you've created the space, and now you're actively burning through the samskaras, the limitations.
So this is the hard work.
This is the really hard work of changing habits.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It's the struggle. It's the gym session where your muscles are shaking and you want to quit. Bhairavi is that burn. She's the fire that purifies.
And that struggle, that burn, it leads to what I think is the most critical and honestly the most terrifying stage in the entire roadmap.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Maa Dhumavati.
Yes. The source describes this stage in a way that feels very heavy, but also completely necessary. It says this is where we encounter the void.
This is the turning point of the entire journey. Maa Dhumavati is unique among all 10. She's often depicted as an old widow associated with smoke, dust, emptiness, things that are broken.
Not exactly an inspiring image.
Not at all. And psychologically, she represents everything we constantly run away from.
Yeah.
Loneliness, grief, disappointment, the projects that failed, the silence when the party is over, the void.
And normally when we feel that void, our first instinct is to fill it, right? Immediately. We scroll on our phones, we turn on the TV, we grab a snack, we call a friend just to talk about nothing. We do anything to not feel that emptiness.
Exactly. We run, we are terrified of the void. But the profound lesson of Dhamavati is to not fill it.
To just sit with it.
To sit with it. It's about accepting things as they are, not as we wish they were. It's sitting in the discomfort without trying to escape. The Source argues that this acceptance, this ability to sit in the void without panicking, is the only thing that allows the inner space to truly evolve and heal. It describes it as taking 2 steps back to see reality clearly.
That is profound. It's the whole dark night of the soul concept, isn't it? You have to sit in the silence to get to the other side. You have to stop running from your own shadow.
And this is where most people fail on the path. They reach the void, they get scared, and they retreat right back to distraction and noise.
But if you can do it?
But if you can do it, if you can survive the void of Dhamavati without running away, you are rewarded. The energy shifts completely. The next stage that emerges from that void is Maa Kamala,
who represents inner silence.
Yes, but it's a powerful, potent silence. It manifests as control. This isn't the silence of someone who is suppressed or afraid to speak. It's the silence of mastery. It's control over your speech, control over your actions, and control over your thoughts.
It's like, because you've faced the ultimate void, the little things, the triggers, they just don't work on you anymore.
Exactly. You aren't reacting for those old grooves. You've found the pause button, someone insults you, or a stressful situation happens, and instead of that old vinyl record playing the anger track, automatic,
there's just silence.
There is silence. And in that silence, you can choose how to respond. You are no longer a puppet of your vrittis. You are the master of your inner world.
Wow. So we've gone from the chaos of Kali to the cleaning with Tara, through the fire of Bhairavi, into the void with Dhamavati, and emerged with the mastery of Bhagamukhi. We must be nearing the end of the journey now.
We are. The hardest parts are over. Next, what arises from that silence is Matangi.
And she is the dawn of primordial wisdom.
Yes. And this isn't book knowledge anymore. We are way, way past the self-help section of the bookstore now.
Right.
This is intuitive, deep, embodied knowing. You don't just know the right thing to do, you feel it in your bones. It's wisdom that comes from direct experience, from having walked through the fire and sat in the void.
And finally, what's the 10th and final stage?
Finally, we reach Maa Kamala. She is the culmination of the entire journey. She represents inner prosperity and inner fulfillment.
Now, the Source makes a very important distinction here. This isn't just about, having a full bank account or a fancy car.
No, absolutely not. While she is associated with worldly abundance, in the context of this inner roadmap, it refers to the state of being completely and utterly fulfilled within yourself.
It's the result.
It's the final result of the entire process. You are full. You aren't chasing validation anymore. You aren't running from your trauma anymore. You are whole. You have achieved the inner prosperity that no external circumstance can ever take away from you.
It's a complete arc. You start by shaking everything up with Kali, you face the ugly stuff with Tara, you sit in the emptiness with Dhamavati, you gain control with Bhagamukhi, and you end up totally fulfilled with Kamalatmika. Surprisingly logical. It's almost like a clinical progression of psychotherapy, just mapped onto these incredible divine figures.
It is highly logical. And what's so empowering about the source material is that it explicitly states this applies to every single human being.
Not just a select few.
No, it's not reserved for practicing tantrics or people living in caves in the Himalayas. This is the universal architecture of human growth. Whether you call them goddesses or psychological archetypes, the path is the same.
So, okay, we have the what Tantra as a tool for transformation, and we have the how, this incredible roadmap of the 10 goddesses. Now we need to talk about the when.
Yeah.
Because the source brings up this very specific concept called the science of timing.
This is where the Navratri element comes into play.
Now, most people, and I'll include myself in this before I read the material, usually think of Navratri as those 2 big festivals a year. With the dancing, the fasting, the garba, the dandiya, big social events.
The ones in the spring and the autumn.
Right. But the source says, hold on, there are actually 4 of them.
Correct. There are 4 distinct windows in the annual cycle. The 2 we all know, the ones in the months of Chaitra for spring and Sharad for autumn, are called Gupt Navratris.
Prakat meaning?
Manifest or public. Those are outward-facing, celebratory, community-focused events. The energy is moving outward.
But then there are the other 2, the ones that most people miss.
The Gupt Navratris. Gupt means secret or hidden. And these occur in the months of Ashada and Ma.
And we are specifically looking at the Gupt Navratri, which the source notes is coming up on January 18th, 2026. Why is this one special? Why do we need to pay attention to this hidden window?
The source identifies this specific time as being highly powerful for very specific goals, while the public Navratris are about external celebration and community.
Yeah.
The Gupt Navratri are for turning absolutely inward.
So no big parties, no posting selfies of your festival outfit.
No. The distinction is absolutely crucial. During this time, the source says that no outside support is needed. It's not about community at all. It's about solitude.
Just you.
It is just the practitioner and, as the source puts it, the divine sitting within. It's a retreat, even if you're still living your normal daily life. You are emotionally and energetically retreating to do the work.
The source uses this wonderful phrase, nature's support. It suggests that the cosmos is essentially giving you a tailwind during these specific dates.
It mentions something called Shakti dominance. It's the idea that certain subtle energy currents in nature are much more accessible during these specific planetary alignments.
Can you give an analogy for that?
Sure. Think of it like agriculture. You can plant seeds whenever you want, but if you plant them during the right season with the right conditions, they grow with much, much less effort.
Or like sailing.
Or sailing. Perfect. If you catch the tide and the wind is with you, you travel faster and with less struggle. The Gupt Navratri is the high tide for inner transformation.
So if you try to meditate or do this inner work during this window, you get more bang for your buck, so to speak.
That's a great way to put it. The cosmos aligns with your goal.
I love that image. The universe aligning with your goal. It makes the solitary work feel a little less lonely. It's not just you fighting your habits, it's you and the current of nature working together.
And speaking of loneliness versus connection, this brings us to a really touching part of the source material. The mechanism of surrender, and why this powerful energy is visualized specifically as a mother.
Right. They don't call it the divine force or the divine father or the cosmic CEO. It's the divine mother. The source had a very simple biological argument for this, didn't it?
It did. It simplifies it right down to the most basic biological fact of our existence.
Yeah.
We're all born of a mother.
It's universal.
It's universal. It argues that the maternal bond is the strongest in any living being, whether you're a human, an animal, or a bird. That connection is primal. It's the very first relationship we ever know.
So it's tapping into pre-existing hardwiring in our brains.
Exactly. It's using it as an anchor. The source argues that connecting with the Divine Mother is the easiest thing for a human being, because that intimacy is already built into our psyche. We don't have to learn how to relate to a mother figure. We know it instinctively.
We know what it feels like to be held or to need to be held.
Precisely. It bypasses the intellect and goes straight to the heart.
And that leads directly to the concept of surrender. I think surrender is a word that really scares people. It sounds like giving up or losing. It sounds weak.
But in this context, it's defined completely differently. It's not about giving up. It's about giving over.
Giving over.
It's the willingness to accept the things that are not in your control. It's using that deep, innate mother-child bond to trust the process of transformation. You hold on to that anchor to propel yourself through the scary parts, like that Duma body stage we were just talking about.
That makes perfect sense. When you're facing the void or all your dark stuff, it's terrifying to do it completely alone. But if you visualize it as being held safely by a mother figure, you can trust that you won't fall.
Exactly. You trust that the mother is holding you while you face the necessary emptiness. It makes the seemingly impossible task of transformation possible, because you aren't relying solely on your own limited ego strength. You're leaning on something much, much bigger.
Now, before we wrap this up, we have to talk about practicality. We've laid out this ancient philosophy, we've got the cosmic timing, we've got the psychology, but how does a regular person living in 2026 actually do this?
Right. Do they need to go find a guru in the mountains? Do they have to learn Sanskrit?
Yeah. I mean, where's the tool?
The source offers a surprisingly modern answer to that question.
It does. It mentions an app, which I have to be honest, I was not expecting to read about in a text about ancient goddesses.
Me neither.
Yeah.
But it makes perfect sense. It mentions the Tantra Sadhana app, and it's this fascinating blend of the ancient and the modern.
So what does it do?
The source explicitly states that these practices, which for centuries used to be hidden or very hard to access, passed down only in whispers from guru to disciple, are now available structurally on this app.
So it lets you actually follow the progression we've been talking about, starting with Maa Kali and working your way up the ladder to Maa Kamala.
Yes, it democratizes the practice. It really reinforces the idea that this path is for everyone, not just a select few. You can engage with this science of timing and this roadmap of the soul right from your phone.
It bridges the gap between the ancient Gupt, or secret knowledge, and the modern need for accessibility. It literally puts the tools in your pocket.
Pretty wild when you think about it.
It is. Using a smartphone to access the primordial wisdom of the universe. It's the ultimate convergence of Tan, expansion, and tree tool.
It truly is. But we have to remember what we said at the start.
What's that?
The tool, whether it's an ancient mantra or a modern app, is just the tray. It's the apparatus.
The Tan, the expansion.
That still relies on your sadhana, your effort, your discipline.
Right. The app won't do the push-ups for you. It's not going to sit on the meditation cushion for you. It won't scrub the grooves out of the vinyl record.
Precisely. You still have to do the sitting. You still have to be willing to face the void. You still have to confront your own personal Dhamavati. The app provides the map and the instructions, but you, and only you, have to walk the path.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. We have covered a lot of ground today. What does this all really mean for the listener sitting here right now?
Well, if we synthesize everything we've discussed, I think the core message is that true, lasting transformation is a structured process. It's not random. It's not about just hoping you'll get better one day.
There's a science to it.
There's a science to it. It moves from denial, ignoring our limitations, to the confrontation of those unhealed aspects with Tara. It moves through the fires of Bhairavi and into that critical stage of acceptance with Dhamavati, where we stop running from the void. And only then, after all that work, does it move to wisdom and lasting fulfillment.
It's really a move away from external validation, isn't it? We spend so much of our lives looking for support and approval outside, from our friends, from society, from likes on social media. But this path says, no, turn inward.
Especially during this upcoming Gupt Navratri. The invitation from the cosmos, so to speak, is to find that stability internally, to realize that the divine is sitting within you, waiting to help you look at your true, real self.
It's about building a foundation that doesn't crack when the world outside inevitably shakes.
That's it, exactly. It's empowering. It puts the responsibility and the power right back in your own hands. It tells you that you have the machinery inside you to fix the bugs in your own software.
And that the universe is ready to help you run the update.
Absolutely.
So this is where we're going to leave you today. The source mentions that nature is aligning with your goal starting on January 18th. The wind is at your back. So my question to you is this. If the cosmos is offering you a tailwind for internal change right now, what is the one unhealed aspect, that one limitation you've been denying that you finally have the energy to face?
That's the question. What groove on that old vinyl record are you finally ready to smooth out?
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.
Struggling with health, financial worries, wealth, relationships, or career? Don't let these challenges hold you back. Harness the ancient power of authentic Rudraksha, planetary remedies, and Vedic astrology to restore balance and attract success. But act fast. These sacred remedies are in limited stock. Visit callmantra.com today to transform your life.
If this resonated with you, join our spiritual journey. Your support keeps us growing. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So like, comment, share with friends, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.